Number 5, negotiate with the vendor. It's really important to, even if you're feeling like one vendor is doing well overall, to keep 2 to 3 vendors in the ring for negotiating leverage. This is where you really can, if vendors feel that they're up against another vendor and it's a close call, you have more power to have them come down in their price. So it's really important to keep 3, or at least keep the vendor thinking that there are 2 or 3 in the ring. And sometimes it's nice too, because if the one vendor that you really want is unwilling to come down in price, but another vendor who may not be the ideal, but they can definitely do what the other vendor can do, then you can potentially go with the other vendor if cost is really important to your executive team and important to maintain an ERP implementation. Ensure your implementation partner is skilled at negotiating skills. And this is really important because a lot of times you or other companies don't know what you can look at in terms of coming down in cost. So there are specific areas, like you know you can come down in software costs, but you know that the maintenance costs are typically non-negotiable. You may be able to get a little bit of % out of them, but maybe not. But each vendor is a little different too. So you may be able to get pay no maintenance costs for the first year with one vendor, where another you won't be able to negotiate that. So it's really important to select a partner who has knowledge of what the different vendors would typically offer and where they can leverage and come down in those costs for you to help with the negotiation. And don't be rushed by the end of year blowout vendor sales. A lot of times the vendors will pressure you and say that they can only offer this particular cost right now because it's end of year. What we find is that it doesn't matter. They typically will offer you the same amount of cost at any time throughout the year, even if it's past the end of year deadline. Number 6. Set realistic expectations from the beginning. Sales reps are not there to promote realism. They're there to make the sale. So they're going to tell you that you can get this package for a certain amount of money or cost. And they're there to tell you that you'll be able to implement within a certain timeline. So you want to make sure that you have a partner who can call that out and set them straight in terms of realism. And the way you can do this is you can research other projects that have had, that are in a similar size to your company, that are in the same industry, that select a similar package, and see how they set up their project plan, as well as how they set up their budget and their phasing strategy, to be able to compare it to what the sales rep is actually telling you. And make sure to focus on resource allocation in the following key areas. Again, a lot of project plans don't account for the change management activities or the business project management activities or business process management activities in their project plan. And if you don't do this up front, then you end up doing rework down the road. So make sure that when you're setting up your plan and you're talking about timeline and you're talking about costs, that the timeline and the cost include those different change management activities that happen within the different phases of the project, that it accounts for the business process management activities like simulation and testing that occur throughout the process, and that it also accounts for user acceptance, which means, do you have the right amount of training set up? Do you have the right amount of conference room pilots set up to make sure that the users have that time to use the system and validate that it is going to actually operate and function the way that it needs